Hi everybody, welcome back to RC with Adam. My name is Adam, and today we're going to be building the new SpeedyBee Mario 5 drone. It's called the Mario 5, right? I should probably check these things before I start the video. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to build it, but bottom line up front, real quick, here's what it looks like. I have built it. It's a little tricky to put together, but I'm going to try and make it as easy as possible for you guys. You know, my thoughts about the frame, I haven't, used it yet, obviously, but it's kind of complicated. I'm not sure if that is really a huge payoff. But hey, guess what? This is like $35. I think right around $35 is the actual cost of this. Definitely a contender for a budget 5-inch frame is what I'm saying. And as you can see here, I have the dead cat version, which means the rear arms are longer than the front arms or legs or however you want to call it. I'm not even sure why it's a dead cat exactly, except for that video of that stuffed dead cat that was flying around, and that could have something to do with it. We're way off topic now. All right, let's take this thing apart, and I'm going to show you how to put it together from the parts. Okay, here we go. We have all of our parts laid out here. You'll notice that aside from these very long, really long screws, which are for the flight controller ESC stack, we're going to be using the second longest screws, the 16mm screws. Those are going to be for the main body. So we have our top plate, we have our middle plate, and then we have our bottom plate, and then we have our 4 arms. So first of all, the 2 short arms are going to go in the front, and the 2 longer arms are going to go in the back. All right, and you can see how they're going to interlock. They are identical, so it doesn't matter like which one goes on top of the other. So we have our 2 rear arms. These are the long ones. Our 2 front arms, the shorter ones, and bottommost plate right here. And you'll see the cutouts are facing up, and then we have our second from bottom. It goes on top of press nuts, and they face in the upward direction. So as you're looking at it, you'll see it has the little cutouts, and that's going to match up with the cutouts right here. All right, cool. Then we're going to take our arms, our front and rear arms, and we're going to match them up. They are identical, so it doesn't matter which way they go. So we're going to put them we're going to match them up. We're going to line up the holes. So slip that over the screw. We're going to do the same with the front arms. So as we're looking at it, we have the front pointing towards our right side. Okay, and then we have these little bow tie carbon fiber pieces right here. All right, these are going to sit in these notches right here. So they can be, some of them are a little tricky to make sure that they get in the notch and stay upright. It's kind of hard to tell, but just kind of wiggle it in there. And it's probably going to be a little loose, actually. That's the tricky part. Okay, now with our kind of middle plate here, you see how we have these 2 press nuts. Those are going to line up onto those screws, and I'd get one of them, just make sure that it's on one of them, and then kind of center it on the other. All right, so this is the kind of tricky part because we need to hold the 2 plates together and flip it over so that we can screw in the screws into the press nuts. Okay, so let's back them out a little bit to make sure they are actually lined up, and then we can screw it in. Let's do the same over here. So back it out a little bit, keeping pressure on the plates but backing out the screw until it clicks, and then we can tighten it back up. Okay, screw that down. We don't want it super tight because we need to get the other screws in, but something like that should do. Maybe we need to do some wiggling. Make sure those plates click into place. Something like that. Okay, and then just check and make sure that the little vertical plates are in fact in their notches and everything is nice and tight. Right there, the plates are nice and tight. Okay, cool. And then from there, we can just put in our arm screws, the other arm screws. Okay, just like that. Kind of wiggle the arm as you put it in there. Make sure the other screw is not too tight. And some of these might be so tight that you actually just need to thread the screw kind of through the holes up against the carbon fiber, which is not really ideal, but that's just what you have to do. And it's better than it being too loose. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. All right, great. And then you can just screw on your standoffs. Just like that. Just thread those standoffs on there. Don't worry about making them very tight because we'll tighten everything up later. Put the standoffs. Okay. And then, cool. And you can see in the back, I already have the rear standoffs right here. This is just a little well, these are all M3 screws, but it's a little 6mm screw, I believe is what it is. And just thread those onto those holes in the very back. There we go. So you'll notice we have this kind of weird like overhanging portion right here, which to be honest, I'm not a fan of yet. And that is where this yellow piece goes. And I suppose we could just put that in here now, just so that we don't accidentally like bend the carbon fiber plate. It's just kind of supposed to like get wedged in here. And then the holes should line up here. And I guess this is like an access panel that sits in here, which that's kind of a cool feature, I guess. So, well, I guess if we're going to build this, we really don't want to put this in just yet. And since we're on the back here, we can take this piece. This is a 3D printed portion here. If yours came with it already, then you can take the XT60 connector. I suppose if you knew exactly how you wanted to set this up, you could orient this either sort of facing left or right. I'm not really sure, but this just goes in here. You kind of squeeze it in the TPU. The little slots made for it. Squeeze it in there, and it just kind of hangs out just like that. So no screws to hold that in place. And then these are going to slide down on here. Now there are other 3D prints that you can put on here, or you can 3D print your own stuff, or you can buy it with the 3D prints. And then we have like a large antenna, like SMA mount right here. And then we have crossfire antenna and ELRS antennas, or that's where those would go if you want to put those on there. Okay, let's get our nose pieces here, or the head, or the nose, or whatever you want to call it. We got some more screws. Okay, so let's see, these standoffs, I already put these in here. I'm not going to take them out, but the standoffs that fit flush on this top mount, this is for like a GoPro, or basically like your universal 2-prong GoPro mount would sit in here. So I guess you would get a different 3D print or something if you didn't want to use that. We're going to put 2 standoffs in there, and then we're going to put this last standoff through here, so through these holes. And that's, I guess it's really more of a spacer in this way. It's not exactly a standoff, but we're going to put it evenly through those holes. All right, so for these aluminum side pieces, the shiny side is going to be facing outward. So you see how there's this little triangle piece? It's for a like a camera mount thingy, okay? But this is going to go on the inside, all right? And I'm not going to leave it in because it never stays in while I'm working on it. But you'll notice there's a little cutout for it to sit kind of flush, and that's going to be on the inside of the plate. So shiny side on the outside, little cutout on the inside. All right, now we're going to get one of these, I believe it's an M12 screw. We're going to put it through the bottom of the aluminum plate, and it's going to go into this front TPU standoff assembly thingy dingy, whatever it's called. Okay, we're going to screw that in. And again, it's probably best to not screw anything too tightly until everything is assembled. We're going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to put it in there. Okay. So you'll notice that the TPU matches up nicely with the nose. And so that's kind of acts as a bumper, I suppose. Now we can take this little shiny, like bronze copper looking piece right here, and it's going to be kind of bowed outward. Okay, so it's gonna look like sideburns. Yeah, they're like gold sideburns for the drone. That's what it is. So these crazy futuristic gold sideburns are going to go right there. We're going to take one of these little M6, I'm sorry, 6mm M3. I'm getting all mixed up with my numbers today. And we're going to tighten that in there. Okay, and there we go. And let's get our right hand, I would call it right hand from the drone's perspective, the right hand sideburn. And line that up just like that. You see how it lines up nicely in that section. Let's tighten that down. Now we're going to get this big yellow TPU mount from the top. You see it has these holes that match up quite nicely, I would say. And we're going to line up those holes. So we are going to use these longer ones, M12 I believe. Kind of thread that by hand. Screw it in a little bit. Not too tight. Let's get the other side. Alrighty. Alright, just give them a good little crank. Don't strip anything out, but get it nice and tight. And there you go. Now we have this crazy futuristic sideburn looking Transformer Ultron thing. I'm not really sure what, but now this is going to go on here and it's going to go woo, and we just need to line up this front sections. You'll see it goes a little bit under the yellow TPU, and these holes will line up right there. So we're going to get those 6mm screws. Okay, let's put one in. Alright, you see they have a cutout right here. I'm not sure what that's for. Moving on. There are, you know, these bumpers that go on the arms, but I never use them. I suppose it might be worthwhile. You know, they just sit on the arm like that. But I don't know. I never really cared for them. So we may or may not be using those. Now for the top plate, if we're ready to put the top plate on, you know, if we're going to build it, we're obviously going to keep the top plate off. In this video, I'm not going to build it out, but I will probably in another video. It did come with this antenna connector right here. So this goes from a little tiny UFL connector to an SMA, and so you would run that up through here, and you would, you know, screw down the SMA on this connector, or on this little hole in the back here, and then we could also put the appropriate sized FPV camera mounts in here. I think they're supposed to go like that, which seems a little odd to me to have them on the inside, to be honest with you. But that's apparently how they're supposed to go according to the instructions. So, just like that. That's how it's supposed to sit in there. Also, then we have these 4 empty press nuts right here, and those are going to go for the stack screws right here. That's where the stack screws are going to go. So the stack screws are going to go in through these large cutouts in the bottom plate. Okay, so this is nice for a few reasons. And also, so just keep in mind that this is not directly 20 by 20 sizing, so don't try. You can use a 20 by 20 or a 25 by 25 flight controller stack on here, but you will need some kind of adapter, because for the main area it's just a 30 by 30, or technically 30.5 by 30.5 size hole spacing. Also, by having a screw go all the way through your stack components, it is much stronger that way instead of relying on smaller connections. Okay, and then we can take our top plate, and it just kind of fits snug. Oh, see, I just popped out the the little camera spacers. So then our top plate, we're just going to slide snugly over the TPU in the front. See, it matches up nicely with the CNC machining. That's pretty cool. I assume it's CNC machining. Don't actually know for sure. And it matches up on all the holes. Let's go ahead and just kind of screw this down just for funsies to make it look nice and finished. So we just have 2 screws on the top and 2 screws on the bottom that actually hold this entire head, like nose, whatever you want to call it, the camera section in place. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess I should feel fine about that because you have this, I mean, this is made of aluminum, which typically you would only have a aluminum standoff in the front in the first place. And then we do have these reinforcement sideburns here. So I guess that's kind of cool. I'm not sure though, like, I don't know why they're the shape that they are, aside from looks. They look cool. It looks interesting. They seem quite strong. So I don't know. I don't really have anything bad to say about them other than like they're different, you know, because everybody knows that's something bad. And then they also give you this metal little, like a collet kind of thing, and it's to go on the DJI O3 antennas. So it's hollow and it has an opening, and so you put these little teeny tiny grub screws into the screw holes, and you clamp down on the O3 antenna, and then you're able to stick it up here, and it will keep the O3 antenna from coming out. So is that a good design? I don't know. I'll have to try it. Here in the back, we have this kind of antenna holder in the back here. But it is kind of weird because there aren't any standoffs that are going through it. So I guess they're kind of counting on you to put a component back here and screw it in place in order for this TPU to actually be holding on to anything, because right now it's just kind of hanging out there. So I suppose, just for funsies, we could take this little panel, which I assume to be like kind of an access panel, and put it in this neat little hexagon. And I must say that is quite satisfying how that fits in place right there. And then put these little screws, because we do have some more little tiny screws. These are M2 screws. Wait, no, we have M2, and then we have M1.5, which is even smaller. So this little access panel is just screwing into the TPU, and I'm going to put this in here definitely because we want it, at least these 2 screws, to hold this whole TPU piece in place. Okay, so now we have that little access panel in place, and that's kind of neat. I'm going to get some B-roll of this thing. Let's get it just like this. Alright, so these 2 screw holes, I'm not sure where they're supposed to go, or what they're supposed to be for. They don't come through on the other side. It's almost as if these holes are extra or something. Maybe it fits some sort of 3D printed accessory. Don't really know. Don't worry about it, I guess. Also, I'm not sure what this cutout here is for. That almost seems like they were gonna cut through and do a panel like this one right here, but then they decided, like, nah, stop the machine, it's Friday, we gotta go home. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know why it's there. That's okay. And of course, we can't forget on the very top, they do have this screw and this nut, and this is a 5mm screw, or that should be what it is, for the GoPro. Okay, and the idea is you put the screw through here, the nut over here. But let me just tell you something, SpeedyBee. This is a terrible idea, because if you don't have this screw, or excuse me, if you don't have the nut as a captured nut, then you need 2 tools. You need your hex drive, and then you need a prop wrench, like a socket wrench or something, to secure the other side. So bad move, SpeedyBee. I would really like to have seen like this. It could go, you know, backwards and be like there'd be an indentation or something to lock the hex nut into the TPU mount, or just have it built in somehow, or I don't know, something like that. So that's a bummer. Don't like that part. But, you know, it's all kind of built in. It's all one unit, which could be good or bad, I guess. So potentially it's a lot stronger. It's more low profile. That's nice. Perhaps less weight. But it is, you know, if you tear this out, let's say, which that would take quite a lot. But let's say you tear this TPU piece out. Well, you've got to print a whole piece and then, like, take apart a few screws and stuff in there. And then, you know, they do have this little wiring, which that's kind of cool. I think that that's mainly so that if you want to power your action camera with a wire coming from your flight controller, then you're able to do that, or possibly from your battery. Well, if it was from your battery, you wouldn't need to do it through there, so that's kind of interesting. Hey, speaking of power, we can't leave out the main feature of this drone, and that is right here at the heart of it, where we put these little plates at the very beginning. This is this seems to be kind of the big unique thing about this design. It's basically like a little hole for your capacitor. It's a capacitor hole, is basically what they have created here. And I realized I should have shown this before I put the top plate on. So the idea is you have your stack and it sits you know, right here, but then you got your capacitor, and yeah, that is kind of annoying because the capacitor usually ends up sticking out in some odd direction because it needs to be soldered directly to the battery pads on your ESC. And that's, you know, capacitors to soak up voltages, spikes in the voltage, and kind of smooth everything out. And so you want, you know, generally you want as big a capacitor as you can have on there. This will fit a 10 millimeter by 20 millimeter capacitor down in there. And in the instructions, they're showing that you need to basically wire it underneath the board. So you know, I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try just because I have this thing. They sent it to me. I'm going to try it out and all that stuff. But honestly, I don't know. It seems a little gimmicky, and it seems like there could be some serious problems having your capacitor kind of in its own little spot down there. And because they show in the instructions, one is you need to make sure that you leave enough length on your capacitor prongs when you solder. And then the other thing is you've got to have some really good heat shrink on your capacitor prongs to make sure that it is not going to come in contact with the frame. And that makes me wonder, why is there a press nut sticking up right there, which is pretty much where your ESC pad is going to be sticking out? I don't know. That seems a little questionable, to say the least. But we're just going to have to build it out and see if that's actually a problem. But again, we're looking at about a $35 frame, which that's a really good price for a quality frame, which again, I'm assuming this is a quality frame because SpeedyBee has had a good reputation of building good quality stuff, especially their flight controllers. At least in my experience, it's been pretty good, I think, for a lot of other people. So this could be a really cool budget option. And again, you know, this one is the dead cap, but they do make the straight kind of X configuration for freestyle. So yeah, I'm going to build this out, and I will probably bring you guys along. Let me know if you'd like to see that, and I think we can make it happen. Thanks to SpeedyBee for sending me this, of course, and showing you guys. I'll have a link to this down in the description below this video if you should so choose to check it out. Like when you're trying to fish stuff through, you know, when you're trying to put things... Oh, I just realized that's a problem. Oh no, problem found, problem detected. Problem detected. How do you strap your battery on here? Because I just realized that, you know, normally you'd go under the stack, maybe between like the sort of the stack plate and then the bottom plate. But for this one, you're just going to have to go directly under your stack, I guess, if you're going to do a bottom mount. So just keep that in mind, because you're going to need enough room to go under your stack, all right, if you're going to do a bottom-mounted battery. And, you know, I mean, I guess, okay, if you're going to do a top-mounted battery, if you're one of those top mounters, then they do have nice little cutouts right here. And that's actually chamfered, so it's not super sharp. Oh, also, I forgot to weigh the frame. So, as it is assembled with pretty much everything on it, or a lot of stuff, you know, for the bare frame, we're looking at 171 grams. Let's add, you know, if we add like their battery strap that they sent along, we're looking at 178. If we add these, you know, feet thingies, we're looking at 191 grams. If we add the battery pad here, which is actually quite hard and not super grippy, we're looking at 198. If we add these little silicone things for the camera, 199. And if we add this little connector collet thingy mount for the DJI 03, we're looking at right at 200 grams. I feel like that's kind of heavy. That feels kind of heavy to me. But again, you know, we added a bunch of grams by just having all these, you know, basically accessories. Well, you got to have the camera things, but you know. So for example, that's why I don't usually put these feet protectors, just for funsies. How much would it weigh for us to put this on here? So 13 grams for that, and then this battery strap, which is pretty heavy, honestly. 6 grams just for a battery pad. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Keep on flying, be creative, and go out and do cool stuff and things like that. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
We get bars in our goggles that show.
Let's see. Yeah, the camera's on. Cool. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to RCwithAdam. SpeedyBee, they sent me the "It's me, Mario" drone, their new drone. That was lame. Somebody else did that. That's not what I wanted to do. Ugh, cut this out. Cut this out. Chop, 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 chop.